Because right now, according to the polls, Donald Trump's at about 37%. Horrible ratings.
So Stephen A. Smith just dropped a bombshell poll showing Trump at 37% approval. Historically catastrophic territory for any sitting president. When you're below 40%, you're in Nixon during Watergate levels of political damage. We're diving into why gas prices and foreign wars are destroying this presidency. Let's break this down.
And this is a poll that I personally put out. Over 19,000 people answered this polling question. Top 2026 midterm issues heading into the polls.
19,000 respondents is massive. Most national polls use 1,000 to 1,500 people. This sample size gives us a margin of error under 1%, making these results statistically rock solid. When you get numbers this large, you're seeing genuine American sentiment, not polling noise.
The two top issues is the Iranian war at 31% and gas prices, which is at 38%. I got news for you, ladies and gentlemen. They're pretty much one and the same. They're pretty much one and the same.
He's absolutely right. The Strait of Hormuz carries 21% of global petroleum liquids. When Iran threatens this choke point, oil futures spike instantly. Americans see it at the pump within days. Foreign policy isn't abstract when you're paying $4.53 per gallon to get to work.
National average for gas prices rose to $4.53 on Wednesday. Just a day earlier, it was $4.48. It's still below California.
That 5-cent jump overnight is politically toxic. Rapid gas price increases hit working families immediately. They see it twice weekly filling up. When national averages approach California levels, you know the pain is spreading nationwide. This becomes a daily referendum on presidential leadership.
Donald Trump is in a situation right now where he doesn't relate to the American people. And if he is alive and living and thriving, it's because of the loyalty from his base of MAGA Republicans.
Exactly right. Trump's billionaire status creates a massive disconnect when families are choosing between gas and groceries. His base stays loyal, but swing voters see a wealthy president seemingly disconnected from their daily economic struggles. That's politically devastating in purple districts.
If you are a Republican leaning towards the center, you don't relate to Donald Trump. Governor Massey out of Kentucky will tell you that. He votes with Republicans 90% of the time. Trump wants him out of there because of the 10%.
Thomas Massey represents Kentucky's 4th district and votes conservative 90% of the time. He's no moderate. But Trump demands 100% loyalty even from reliable allies. When you're purging congressmen who agree with you 9 times out of 10, you're shrinking your own coalition.
Because they don't trust either damn party. Because both parties come across as either sleazy, duplicitous, or just not on their game. And more interested in keeping their seats than they are in working while they're in those seats.
Independent voter registration has surged to 43% nationally, higher than either major party. Americans are fleeing institutional politics because they see endless dysfunction while their real problems go unaddressed. Gas prices, inflation, and war fatigue drive this exodus from both parties.
It's not even about Trump. I'm hoping the Democrats win.
This isn't partisan, it's constitutional. Divided government forces compromise and deliberation on major decisions. When one party controls everything, you get rushed policies without proper oversight. The founders designed separation of powers specifically to prevent unchecked executive authority.
Because unless you're somebody who is doggedly supporting the incumbent and his administration, you want to know that the decisions that are being made involves checks and balances. And that a government has come together and said, this is what's in the best interest of the country, and that's why decisions are being made.
Congressional war powers are explicit in Article 1. Only Congress can declare war and control spending. When legislators rubber stamp executive military actions without debate, they abandon their constitutional duty. Major foreign interventions require legislative approval, not presidential decree alone.
What I care about is when our representatives in the nation's capital, when both houses of Congress capitulate like wusses just because they're scared of him. He can't do a damn thing without their support.
The Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse and war declaration authority. When representatives cave to presidential pressure instead of exercising independent judgment, they're violating their oath of office. Fear-based governance undermines the entire separation of powers framework.
What it is that you promised the people during the campaign no new wars. And then you reneged.
Trump's 2024 campaign explicitly promised no new wars. This Iran conflict directly contradicts that pledge. When presidents break core campaign promises, especially on war and peace, voters feel betrayed. Broken promises on military engagement are particularly damaging to credibility.
You said this is not a war, but suddenly we in a war.
The semantic games around war versus military action fool nobody when Americans see casualties and billion-dollar daily costs. Voters judge by results. Dead soldiers, empty treasury, higher gas prices. Calling it something else doesn't change the reality families experience.
Week 10, when a month was spent where TSA workers and others couldn't be paid $2 billion. But somehow, some way, we had the $2 billion per day for a war.
The February 2026 DHS shutdown left TSA workers unpaid for a month over $2 billion in funding disputes. Yet somehow we found $2 billion daily for Iran operations. Working Americans see this hypocrisy clearly. No money for their paychecks, unlimited money for foreign wars.
Because if we weren't involved in a war with Iran, we wouldn't have gas prices being up as high as $4.53, which means 38% of the American population wouldn't have that as its number one concern.
Foreign policy has immediate domestic consequences that voters feel daily. Every time Americans fill their tanks at $4.53 per gallon, they're reminded of the Iran conflict. Gas prices become a daily referendum on presidential decision-making. You can't escape that political reality.
Our debt is at $39 trillion. It's at $39 trillion. $39 trillion. Inflation knocking at the door.
$39 trillion in debt equals $118,000 per American citizen. War spending of $2 billion daily adds $730 billion annually to that burden. When you're printing money for foreign conflicts while inflation hits working families, the economic disconnect becomes politically unsustainable.
This is why he's slipping in the polls, ladies and gentlemen. This is why his poll numbers are awful.
37% approval puts Trump below Nixon during Watergate and Johnson during Vietnam. Presidents rarely recover from sub 40% territory. It signals fundamental loss of public confidence. These numbers typically herald massive midterm losses and lame duck status.
This is why the GOP is in trouble, because they've capitulated too much and now they're going to have to live with their unwillingness to push back against him and some of the things that he's wanted to do out of sheer petulance.
GOP representatives who enabled these policies without oversight now face voter backlash. Their constituents are paying $4.53 for gas because they rubber-stamped military actions. Come 2026 midterms, they'll answer for abandoning their constitutional role as a check on executive power.
This is a democracy. We want politicians to get it done. We don't want one individual ruling us. We don't want an authoritarian regime. We want a democracy. We just want our democracy to run efficiently and effectively.
Democratic governance requires institutional checks and balances. No president should rule by decree. The 2026 midterms become a referendum on constitutional norms versus authoritarian tendencies. Americans want effective government, but within democratic guardrails that protect their voice in decisions.